Hi Diva, welcome back to Housewives with Heather right here on the Garbage Candy channel. I'm Heather if you're new here. I'm a Real Housewives super fan, sociology diva, and mostly just a girl who loves to talk. I'm so happy to have you here to talk about Real Housewives of Orange County season 2. Let's keep going. So episode 8 opens with Vicki revealing her grand master plan to go and surprise her son Michael in Boulder at university. She misses him and she feels like because he was gone for most of the summer, she didn't get to spend a lot of time with him and she thinks it'll be nice to surprise him. But Brianna and Colby, they both know Michael's probably not going to be too happy about this.
He's gonna kill her.
All his parties he's not going to be able to go to.
Hey Mom, why are you going out to Boulder just cuz?
I miss him.
Mike's gonna kill you, Mom.
Why would he kill me? He loves me. I expect Michael to be like, Mom, what are you doing here? You know, this is really great.
All I know about Boulder actually is, I'm gonna have to put the mic down for this, is that their area code is 303 because that's where the band 303 is from. I definitely had a brief period where I was like ironically obsessed with them. Moving on. This is not about that. Michael and his boys are all ready for game day to watch the game in their house, and one thing I'll say is there's something so evergreen about the appearance of like a college guy house. Because this is 2006 in Boulder, Colorado. I feel like I've been in this house multiple times. This looks like every disgusting ass like college guy house. If you've ever lived in a college town, you've been in this house, and I hope you have your vaccines updated. I hope you have your measles shot, your tetanus shot, your chickenpox vaccine. I don't think that exists anymore. But I can smell this house. And it doesn't smell good. But who walks in the door of this disgusting house that should be condemned? Vicki Gunvalson with a case of they blurred it, but I can still tell that's Coors Light, baby.
Yeah, that was pretty off the post. Like, yo.
Michael is mortified. You would think he just saw a ghost. And honestly, this scene is so hard to watch and progressively gets harder to watch, but I'm here to watch it for you. But Michael is gooped and gagged, and not in a good way. He's running around saying hide the contraband, and he is not happy that Vicki is here. He basically tells her that because she says, aren't you happy to see me? And he's like, not really. But mind you, Miss Vicki Gunvalson gets down. We've seen her in Havasu. We've seen her with the ladies. Vicki knows how to party. And Michael says he's not happy that Vicki's here because it's game day, Mom. Literally whatever that means. Mind you, again, Vicki brought beer. And Vicki expresses that she just ultimately wants to feel connected to Michael. She said that they hadn't been talking a lot, and their last couple conversations they'd had, she felt like he was being a bit cold towards her and was being a little closed off, and she wanted to surprise him and spend time with him.
Michael, are you so happy I'm here?
No. No, I'm not. Why? You just showed up in my house while I have a bunch of friends over getting ready for a game. You think it's fun? No. What were you planning on doing?
And again, this is extremely hard to watch because as much as Vicki is crazy, Michael is being an asshole to her. I feel like I wouldn't want to speak to my mom that way at all, but especially not in front of my friends. Yes, okay, maybe it's embarrassing to have your mom surprise you in front of your friends, but I think it's more embarrassing to be an asshole to your mom in front of those friends. You get what I'm saying? I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I get such an ick when like you are like around your friend and they're like mom or their parents, whatever, and they're being just like so rude to their parents. Like they talk to their mom in a way where you're like, what the fuck? And Vicki gets really upset and she starts to cry. And even Michael's friends are like,
dude, your mom is crying. Like, can you go give her a hug or something?
And Michael just keeps expressing to her like, well, I don't want to make you feel sad, but like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, it's game day and I have friends over. And Vicki says, she's like, after everything I do for you, can you at least make it seem like you're happy to see me? To which Michael responds,
Pull yourself together and then come back out.
the very least Michael could have done was at least pretended to be happy to see her and maybe pulled her aside and been like, hey, what the hell? This is another example of seeing both sides of it, because as much as what Vicki did was kind of insane, and like I can imagine anybody who's a 20-year-old away at college would probably be a bit stunned if their mom just randomly walked through the door. So on the one hand, we have, yes, what Vicki did was a little bit insane, but that's just the way she is. But on the other hand, the way Michael responded to it is crazy. And maybe he doesn't see that because he's only 20, but it's like she's just trying to connect with you and there was no reason for you to embarrass her. And also, like, she brought beer. Like, she was clearly looking to get down and have fun. Like, it's not like she was there to show up and reprimand you and be like, what are you doing? Put those beers away. You know what I mean? I think that's part of what makes it so hard to watch, is on some level you do kind of understand where both of them are coming from, even though his reaction is extremely rude and uncalled for. I'm not somebody who like hates surprises, but I'm not a big fan of them either. I understand why Michael was shocked and maybe not happy, but again, I think he could have handled it better. This is also something I'll probably circle back to later in the episode, but something I find really compelling about reality TV is how, obviously, I know, like, I hate when I start talking about reality TV and somebody's like, well, you know, these shows are overproduced. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. Obviously, I know editing and show running and all of that does play some type of role, but ultimately these are real people and a lot of their reactions can't be faked. And the thing about reality TV is like, there's a lot of room for this uncomfortable, like, I get both sides of this. Scripted television, you're meant to be guided in like, this is who you're supposed to side with. This is who you're supposed to agree with. This is who you're supposed to disagree with. Otherwise, it's a plot hole or it's bad writing, or this is just my opinion as well. But here it's like we get to see more nuanced conflicts where it's like, okay, what Vicki did was insane, but also Michael's reaction was insane. And I get both sides. Do you see what I'm saying? There is this more sort of three-dimensional approach to conflict that feels a little bit more human. I don't know. Maybe this is me like gassing my favorite show, but ultimately it's my video, so I'm gonna do that anyway. Then we see Jeana, and she's doing an interview with Playboy for Sirius Radio, the 2000s equivalent of going on a podcast. And they're talking about how, you know, her being in the magazine as a brunette was super rare because usually it's all about blondes. Next, they're going to have Jeana interviewing on Housewives with Heather with Miss Garbagecandy. Watch this space.
Did you go out with a lot of guys?
I went out with a lot of guys. I dated Tom Selleck. And
Did you?
actor.
That's so funny.
Matt came into my life about the same time. He was gorgeous, looked like Tom Selleck. My husband was a Major League Baseball player, so he was gone half of the year.
And Jeana mentions Matt's injury again, his critical brain injury that changed his personality. And Jeana also mentions that her and Matt sleep in separate bedrooms. She says it in a way where it's like, he's nocturnal, so we have our own bedrooms and we have separate TVs, so we don't have to fight over the remote. Ha 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 ha. But I have a hard time believing that's the only reason. And that's not me saying that like sleeping separately automatically makes a marriage a failure. Personally, I love like the idea of having my own bedroom and being married is like, that's king. I don't necessarily think that couples having their own space necessarily means their marriage is failing, but given what we've seen and also not seen of their marriage, it is a bit telling.
I'm unattracted to my husband anymore.
She's
it
already
sounds
done.
like
She's
you
already...
need to just get a divorce and move on. It was so strange to be giving out sex and marriage advice. I'm a kind of person that you tell me the problem and I fix it. My husband, I don't think he enjoys his life very much. That's something I can't fix. It's something that he has to fix.
And Jeana says she honestly doesn't know why her and Matt stay together. She thinks it's the Wisconsin in her that she keeps everything. She keeps every car, every house, and feels a need to hold on to things. And then Cara says she views her parents' marriage almost like a business deal. They put all this time and energy into it to make sure it succeeded, and then now they're just in it till the day they die. Kind of like a sunk cost fallacy thing where it's like, well, we've put this much into it, like, why give up? But Cara thinks her mom should get a boyfriend. I kind of agree, because this is not working. Back in Boulder, Vicki's still upset in the bathroom, and Michael's girlfriend Lauren goes to talk to her. Vicki says that she not only wants to feel loved by Michael in the way of, like, that's her son, she also wants to feel like he likes her and he likes spending time with her and he accepts her, which is probably why this hurts so much.
And it's really nothing.
It's embarrassing, you know? Yeah. If it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have all this stuff. No, he wouldn't have an education. He wouldn't be living here. He wouldn't. I mean, I do whatever I can to make his life good. You know?
And
I work really hard for him.
I know it's like it's William Sickening, but like it's your mom.
Give her a hug or something. And Michael's standing 10 toes down of like, you need to understand where I'm coming from and why I'm mad. And here's the thing, I think I would get the ick if any of my friends acted like this towards their mom in front of me, but especially if I was dating somebody. This would be like breakup level. I would be like, ew, your mom is crying in the bathroom and I have to comfort her and she's crying because of you. We would be broken up within a week, I fear. maybe even the day. But Michael's friends, they hug Vicki. They say they're happy that she's here. And then Vicki joins the party. And things seem to be pretty patched up. And Vicki really is the life of the party.
No, I would do anything for you.
Would you buy me a car?
Sure. You get straight A's. How about if you get a 3-5?
No way!
How about if you get a 3-5 this semester? You got a car in the driveway. Handshake.
I'm calling it right now. He's not going to have a new car. Just from what we're seeing here. The day continues to get better. Vicki does a keg stand. And she leaves ultimately feeling like the day ended up being a success. And she does feel a bit closer to Michael. Even though it got off to a rocky start, to say the least. So then we see Joe and Slade, who are at a meeting with some more record executives and producers. Slade is dressing like a Backstreet Boy this season. I know I already mentioned that he dresses differently, but it really just keeps making me giggle. Joe looks fantastic. She looks gorgeous. But this song is ass. This song is shit from a butt. This song is doo-doo feces all over the wall. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion.
I'm really scared.
Slade says it's important for him to be there at these meetings so that they don't try to take advantage of Joe, which is, I guess, very noble of him. But honestly, part of me feels like it's because, like, he thinks he's the diva. He thinks this is his singing career. Because I also was thinking, I'm like, I don't think because he's not a main cast member, I don't think he was getting paid for any of this. Like, I don't think he was getting paid to appear on the show. He was doing all this messy stunt queen drama literally for the love of the game. And Joe says that having a career in the music industry, she's very serious about it and she'll do whatever it takes to get there. And I'm just wondering, like, Mama, what about the real estate? Both her and Slade, like, do they still have their job? I guess Joe does because that's why she moved to LA, but it's just like such a pivot. This makes me feel crazy because they're all talking about how, like, oh my God, she's so talented. I really see, like, she could be the next big thing. Like, I could see this playing on the radio. And it's like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? I don't see any of that. This shit sucks. Lots of boardroom meetings this episode because next we see Ashley having a meeting with Lou, who's Tammy's ex-husband. He started a program called OC Angels to promote his new energy drink. He's saying they got patented technology that makes water from air. Sure. But Ashley and this girl, Kristen, with like white blonde fried hair, are talking to Lou about being brand models, promotional models for this patented energy drink.
I just got this amazing job where I'm going to be traveling with the company and we're going to be modeling all over the world.
And then we're going to do billboards with you girls on the billboard.
I'm not really sure what the Aqua Air Angels do. I think that they're supposed to be a spokesmodel for the product, out there getting the word out about the energy drink.
The whole thing is just very weird. And Lou was talking about how, you know, all the girls, they're supposed to be good role models. You know, they all have over a 3.5 average, no tattoos, no piercings. And this girl, Kristen, is talking about how they're going to go and do something at a veterans hospital because I guess that's what the vets need is Aqua Air energy drink water, whatever the fuck this thing is. And this girl's telling Ashley, like, no partying, no junk food. And Ashley's like, meanwhile, I know she's going back to that club with the go-go dancers tonight. And Lindsay's talking to her dad. She's like, I don't drink, I don't smoke. And he's like, I know, that's why you're an Aqua Angel. And then it literally cuts to a clip of her, like, hacking on a dart. For those who don't know, dart is Canadian for cigarette.
Yeah, Megan, we dropped her.
Dad.
I'm serious.
That's horrible. Megan is my sister. She has tattoos. She's not physically fit. She's not the right attitude for it.
I don't like the fact that Megan has tattoos. Megan goes out for a job interview, and unless she's working in an office, who's going to hire a girl who's got 17 tattoos on her?
This whole thing is just so weird. And Megan's pissed because she's like, this shit all just seems so fake. All these girls, they're not angels. They're not even that pretty. They're not even that fit. This whole thing just feels like a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, back to Joe and Slade. So Slade has set up a photo shoot for Joe at the house. She's got her gaggle of gays doing her glam. She says she wants the photo shoot to be tasteful and classy. She doesn't want to be too raunchy. And Slade is saying, he's like, you know, there's been a lot of buzz about her, so I think this is huge. What buzz? Literally, what buzz? You're making this shit up. But Slade is actually being really supportive of her, which is a big shift from last season where he just was like, no, you have to live in my house and you can't get a job. I can't give him his 10s because I don't like him. So he's never going to get that 10 from me, but I'll give him a flower, a petal, a stem, just for being supportive, I guess.
She looked freaking phenomenal.
I'm excited. I'm really excited because I know there's already a buzz about her.
You look hot. That's great. Great. Give it all you got.
Can you blow the fan like underneath me and have it be like a Latin Marilyn Monroe?
Great. Love it. Give me a couple more like...
I wouldn't call this photo shoot trashy or raunchy, but I don't think I'd call it classy either. There's a lot of boobage going on. A lot of boobage going out of this dress. It's just funny because like I don't have faith in this career for her. I'm sorry. All love to Joe, but I'm just not seeing it for her. I wish she could have seen the astrologer because the astrologer probably would have been like, girl, what are you doing? So then we see Tammy and she's out to lunch with Duff again. Tammy and Duff going in circles once again. They go out to lunch to discuss co-parenting, and Tammy mentions that she's actually kind of starting to date somebody and is trying to slowly introduce him into her life. And Duff is taking the opportunity to really beg once again and hammer home like, well, like you got this great guy sitting right here and what could possibly be so great out there? And then when like we were already happy and had a family, it's like, buddy, give it up. Give it up.
Going into lunch today, we were just getting together to talk about a few things with Riley, and I basically took the opportunity to hammer her one more time on what it is that she really thinks she's going to find out there that's better than what we already had.
And Duff really seems adamant to get her back because he's like, when we leave this lunch, we either, go our separate ways or we say fuck it and we go to Vegas. And she's sort of like, I mean, a year ago, I probably would have said yes. A big part of why their relationship ended was because they weren't on the same page. She wanted to get married and he didn't. And he's talking about how Hurricane Tammy came through and ripped his roof off. And she's kind of saying like, sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes you just got to know when to throw in the towel. And honestly, this would kind of be my hell. Give it up. Give it up. And they leave lunch very much being over. Tammy's like, okay, I'm done. Like when I've reached my point, I'm finished. And again, it's like, especially at your big age, how long can you continue going in circles? You can be in each other's lives, but at some point you have to move on and give it up.
Okay. Love doesn't like conquer like everything, Yeah, we're just out of whack. Jeff and I are done. We're completely over. When I'm at the point I'm done, I'm done.
And I respect Tammy for putting in that boundary and just being like, no. Like there was a point where I would have said yes to go to Vegas with you and get married right now, but that point is not right now. So then all the ladies go up to Beverly Hills to go shopping with Joe at Jimmy Choo. And this really is a like women be shopping moment because they're all living for these Jimmy Choos. It's very Sex in the City, very Carrie Bradshaw. Honestly, these shoes are fierce. Vicki says that at home she has a shoe closet that Dawn made for her. Lauri picks out a sexy pair of red shoes. She says George is gonna love them because red's kind of the color. These freaked out 40-year-olds, like, whoa.
I picked out these amazing red, beautiful satin shoes. George has great taste, so I think he's gonna love the red shoe. I mean, you know what that implies. Red's kind of the color, so should be fun.
That's another one of my goals for this year is I really want to like get good at walking in heels. Because this looks like, I'm trying not to say cunt, but this looks cunty. And Joe says, now that I'm up here on my own and I'm paying for everything, maybe I should be on a budget, but like, baby, these Jimmy Choos. She went to the Carrie Bradshaw School of Economics. And it's just nice to see the women all like hang out, even if it's just a short scene where they try on shoes. Again, knowing what the show becomes, I live. But anyways, Tammy is at the Aqua Angels shoot. I can't with the Aqua Angels. Right now, the Aqua Angels are Cara, Lindsay, Ashley, Brianna, and then 2 other girls. So basically like the daughters of the women on the show and then 2 random girls. When they show them all in the room, it is kind of funny that their whole thing is like, we want girls who are like have good grades and are physically fit and healthy, and we're trying to promote that image. And like the makeup and hair they're doing, maybe it's just the time, but it's smoky eye, red lip. You would think that it would be kind of more like, oh, natural, little clean girl moment. This isn't exactly giving clean energy. But then Lou comes in and says they're bringing in 2 more girls as backup in case the girls don't behave. So this random girl named Michelle comes in and the girls do not like her. They have beef with her for whatever reason. And the one other random girl in the corner is mean mugging Miss Michelle. And so this girl Taylor comes through and she goes, get out of my way, bitch. And these 2 girls start fighting.
Orchid Beach Fair, yeah.
Oh, I think I might have seen you.
Are you crazy? Probably.
I ate there one time. It was good. I like the shrimp with the coconut. That's my favorite thing. And actually, there's this rice there. Do you know the rice I'm talking about? No. The rice is yum. Taylor, stop it!
It's all very low vibrational. They start fighting. She throws a water bottle. Lou has to come and break it up. And Lindsay says she's not quite sure of the specific details of what the smackdown was about. Maybe she does need to go back to school. No disrespect, but like, Pacific girl, really? A lot of bad PR for brunettes going on here, because why are the two girls with brown hair fighting like cats and dogs in the corner? First we can't be in Playboy, now we're getting real low vibrational with it and fighting at the photo shoot, at the Aqua Angels shoot. Come on, we need a win. We need a win.
That was f***ed up. I don't care. Knock it off, okay? This is bull.
You did it on purpose, and
I
you
didn't
know
do it
you
on
did, and you for even being here, you stupid bitch. Get a life.
You know, if that's the way you feel, Taylor, you can leave anytime, okay?
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, okay? I thought there'd be a little competition. I didn't think there'd be a Second World War.
And Ashley says, ew, she was ugly anyway. But the show must go on, and the Aqua OC Angels photo shoot continues. This photo shoot is so bizarre. Tammy's directing Lindsay. She's telling her like what to do. Lindsay's getting pissed off. Cara says the whole look of the OC Angels is supposed to be like cute, fresh, healthy, but none of this is giving that. They're telling Cara to look bitchy, to give like a sexy bitchy pose. Mind you, these are a bunch of teenagers. So they're all saying the look is supposed to be fresh, healthy, conservative. None of this is giving that. Like, literally not even in the slightest. And Vicki in her little talking head, she thinks it's weird. And I agree. She's like, what the hell is Lou and Knickerbocker doing with all these girls? Like, I got a bad feeling about this one.
Just the whole thing freaks me out. It's just a little weird. I worry about Ashley and the other girls thinking that this Aqua Air Angels is going to be their next career. These girls are very vulnerable. This is not going to be a long-term career.
Very good lipstick.
I think that the OC Angel energy drink will do very well, and if I could get a full-time job out of it, that would be a great thing.
Lauri thinks she's being naive and that this is not really a viable career, and I agree. And also, Ashley's hair looks a hot mess. Look, I know it's 2006. I know fashion, beauty, style trends were completely different then than they are now, but Ashley's hair, there's no way around it. It looks a hot mess. The extension's not matching. The fact that it looks dry and wet at the same time. Even from this hair alone, girl, I would not bank your career on this. Please. But anyways, we cut to Jeana at her birthday dinner. Vicki and Dawn are there, and honestly, I have to say, Dawn has a really nice smile. I just feel like I have to point that out. And so it's Jeana, Dawn, Vicki, and then another one of Jeana's friends, and Matt doesn't show up. Jeana's husband, Matt, bails on her birthday, which is honestly just really sad. It's very telling, obviously, but it's just really sad. Like, it's her birthday. And in Vicki's talking head, she says she tries to talk to Jeana about her family and about the dysfunction going on, and that ultimately it's just really sad to witness. Like, even the fact that your own husband doesn't come to your birthday dinner, like, that is really sad. But Vicki's gonna treat Jeana like a princess anyway. She gets her one of those gorgeous sky tops that all the women wear. Literally, like, trend alert sky tops with the big embellishment.
It's all about you, princess.
This is my color.
Thank
but
you so much.
you can take. I just get like a little guy in here. She did.
What is that?
What is it?
You have to read it.
Just count your blessings. That is beautiful. I think we share our blessings. That is beautiful. Come on with me, baby.
Jeana tells them about the dog trainer coming over, and she kind of tries to frame it as like a funny story when it's really not. And Vicki says in her talking head that she thinks Jeana deserves better. Honestly, she doesn't understand why she stays with Matt. And she also says she doesn't know how Jeana stays sane. And I think Jeana really does deserve better than a man who can't even show up to her birthday dinner. So then we see Lauri, and she's showing up at the townhouse to have a conversation with Ashley about what's going on here and about their living situation. And Lauri approaches the subject by being like, you know, like the conditions of you living here rent-free are that you keep the place clean and that you're enrolled in school. Ashley starts to get very defensive and emotional, almost disproportionately so to the conversation going on. And Lauri starts pushing her about whether she's enrolled, and Ashley's like, yes, I am enrolled, but like I'm in one class, it starts in October. And Lauri's kind of like, hey, you're missing the point. Like, when I say enrolled in school, I mean enrolled full-time, not in like one class, and that class being ceramics. And Lauri basically tells her that if she's not in school, she needs to have a job and she needs to be paying rent. It's ultimately just really awkward to watch because Ashley's getting really emotional and Lauri just keeps pushing the subject.
How much do you make a month?
I don't know.
Of course you know. If you don't know, that's a huge,
How much do you make a month?
Mistake. That's not up to. We're not talking about my
well,
finances.
It doesn't matter what my finances are.
I'm not here living with you for free. Can you make your $300 car payment?
Yeah.
With what you're making?
Are you like seriously trying to embarrass me?
No, I'm not trying to embarrass you at all.
And Ashley starts running away from Lauri. She's running all over the house. She says Lauri's trying to embarrass her, which is like, I mean, they are having this conversation on television, so I do get what she means by that. And Ashley's like crying her eyes out. And Lauri's trying to explain to her, like, if you're not going to be in school, you need to get a job and you need to be paying rent. And Ashley, here's the thing. Here's another example of something where, as weird as it sounds, I do kind of see both sides on this. Because Ashley is very much being a brat. And I would say Ashley is kind of in the wrong here. Not kind of. I think Ashley is in the wrong here. Because she's telling Lauri, she's like, can you just finish whatever lecture you're trying to give me right now? But she does express in her talking head, she says that her mom has historically tried to be her friend too much and not necessarily be a mom. And that's kind of confusing because it's like, don't go out and party and drink with me and then think you can go and lecture me right after. And Ashley once again explains that she thinks this Aqua OC Angel energy drink gig is going to be a fruitful career for her. And I get it. She's young and like it is an exciting opportunity because she's crying and she's like, we're going to go all over the world to promote this energy drink. And Lauri's like, okay, no. Did you ever think that maybe your education is more important than promoting a drink in a nightclub? And Ashley doesn't like that. She's like, it's not just promoting a drink in a nightclub, it's a sales job. Girl, it is promoting a drink in a nightclub. I've done promotional work. It is promoting a drink in a nightclub.
OC energy drink, I'm doing that. I'm promoting it all over the world.
Lou's a great guy, but here's my problem with that. Has he ever thought that your college education is more important than promoting a drink in a nightclub? Seriously?
Like that.
I mean,
seriously.
well,
promoting
no.
a drink in a nightclub? No, it would be a sales job.
What's in it for you? I don't think that that's going to be as much time as what you're thinking.
Well, I do.
I'm not on Ashley's side here, and I need to make that abundantly clear. But here's where I do kind of understand where she's coming from. She does point out something that I was thinking about when I was watching this, which is like, you didn't really care about any of this until you started getting your life together, which is kind of true because it's like, we saw Lauri last season, her life was a mess, and like, I don't think the Lauri of last season would be talking to Ashley like this. Maybe it's because she had bigger fish to fry and more stuff going on, but I think it's like, you got a rich man, you're all shacked up, and now you want to act all Hollywood instead of having sympathy for the fact that Ashley's having trouble getting her life together. And it comes out during the conversation that Ashley's actually not enrolled in college at all. She's not enrolled in the one class, she's not enrolled at all. And Lauri doesn't like that because that was the one part of the agreement. And Lauri starts talking about, you know, if you don't want to pay rent here, maybe I should just put the house on the market. I should take advantage of the market. Which to me, again, I'm like, that's George's voice in your head. And even Ashley says in her little confessional, she's like, I think my mom selling the house would be really stupid because she's only known George for 6 months. And if it doesn't work out, then where's she gonna live? And when I say I see both sides of this, what I mean is I feel like there's a pretty easy compromise here that I think they can achieve if they just listen to one another. But that doesn't seem to be happening because I think Ashley's being a brat. I think that she is taking advantage of her mom's trust by living here rent-free without fulfilling either of the requirements her mom asks of her. But also, I think Lauri could be a bit more sympathetic considering, again, like her life was in shambles until 6 months ago, but now she wants to act Hollywood because she's got this rich man and he buys her all this nice stuff. And I think that's more just my general thoughts about Lauri this season as opposed to whose side am I on here. Because like, your daughter doesn't have a job, she can't pay rent at the house you're letting her live at. What's the solution if you sell the house? Where's she gonna live? Is she gonna come live with you and George? Like, what does that solve? I feel like, I don't want to say Lauri's neglecting them because like Ashley's 21, she's an adult, but also like Lauri fully has this new family going on, and I feel like neglect isn't the right word. Like, neglecting her kids is not the right word because I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say she's neglecting them. I think it's more like she's living such a different life, but like without her kids. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's very interesting to me because Ashley's definitely in the wrong here, but I can understand her frustration with her mom. And Lauri says she's like, I can't just keep giving. She needs to grow up and she needs to land on her own 2 feet. And I think that time is now. But also it's like, again, like I've said several times, where did she learn this behavior from? Because even Lauri has constantly needed the support of these men around her, and then she expects her daughter to not see that and also require support. Like, does that make sense? Am I making sense or do I sound insane? I don't know. I'm not a parent. I'm not a parenting expert. Goodbye. So we have made it to the season finale of season 2 for Real Housewives of Orange County, episode 9. The episode opens with Lauri and George's modern day Brady Bunch having a joint birthday party for Sophie.
I could have sworn this entire time that Lauri's like youngest daughter was named Sophia.
For Sophie,
who I keep wanting to call Sophia,
and George's daughter Bria. They're having a joint bowling birthday party. Everybody's there, and Josh was actually able to come. He was able to get out of his program for the day, and everybody's having a great time. Ashley is in an absolutely rotten mood.
When are you guys getting married?
Dun, 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 dun.
When we can find time, I'm trying to figure this out. When are we getting married?
Anywhere between now and May.
No, I was.
January's my birthday month. You're not stealing my thunder.
Oh my God. Ashley was in a foul mood at Sophie's birthday party. So there was no making her happy.
And Josh, once again, is bringing up the subject of potentially living at the townhouse with Ashley. And Ashley is not really a fan of the idea. But here's the thing. I'm like, and Josh says the same thing, which is like, I don't really think you get to make the decisions when you're not making any payments on the house. Like, it's not actually your house. But she gets really weird and defensive about it. Again, she's convinced that Lauri's not going to sell the house because she's like, why would she sell the house when she's not even married to this guy she's been dating for 6 months? Which, like, I think it would be silly for Lauri to sell the house, but hey, what do I know? But Ashley's reasoning for why she wouldn't want Josh living with her, kind of the same reasoning of Lauri, which is like, I don't think he's responsible enough to be living on his own. But ultimately, I think that's a conversation for Lauri and Josh and not for Ashley and Josh. Because again, Ashley famously doesn't pay for anything at the house and it's not her house. So if Lauri wants Josh to live there, then Josh is going to live there. And Sophie gets a cell phone for her 9th birthday. I guess.
I'll tell you.
Why are you telling me?
Look, I got a phone.
No.
Yeah.
Sophie, what did you get? What did you get?
It's on the phone I wanted.
And she's been asking for a cell phone since she was 3. So, you know, at 9, at the ripe age of 9, she gets her first cell phone.
But then we see Tammy, and she talks more about co-parenting with Duff, and that they get 50-50 custody of Riley, which she says is quite unusual for men to get the child 50% of the time. She doesn't think Riley, who's 4, understands that Duff and Tammy aren't together anymore and is having trouble with the whole 7 days Tammy, 7 days Duff thing, which, I mean, yeah, he's 4 years old. I think a 4-year-old would have trouble with that. But she says even through that, raising Riley is still easier than raising Lindsay and Megan. And speaking of Megan broke up with Roman, her Iron Cross Kennels pit bull breeder 36-year-old boyfriend. Thank God. That's just, I'm sorry, I really can't get past Iron Cross Kennels. That is so absolutely fucking crazy. Good for Megan for breaking up with him. I'm sorry, Megan, every time Megan's on screen, all I can look at are those eyebrows. Honestly, part of why I delayed filming this was because my eyebrows are super grown out right now, but that's because one night I took a flat razor to them and then tried to have a little thin eyebrow moment, and it looked horrible. It looked like a chopped mess. I had a notch in one eyebrow, so I had to wait for them to grow in. So sorry for the delay, everybody. At least now you don't have to see me looking absolutely insane. If I had done them right, they would have looked kind of cute. I did them after a couple of cocktails, and in the moment I was like, this is so fierce. And I woke up and was like, actually, what the hell is wrong with me? But anyway, since Megan and Roman broke up, she is spending more time at the house with Lindsay.
Having Megan around, it's weird because I'm not used to it, because it's like she's like gone for so long, and then she comes back whenever she breaks up with somebody. She comes back and it's like, hey, you have to be best friends with her again. So it's kind of hard to jump into something that quick. But we're sisters, so we'll always be best friends with each other.
And then Megan is making Lindsay cook for her, and they start to get into a bit of an argument where Megan says that Lindsay wants to marry for money. And Lindsay's like, don't say that. Like, that's so mean for you to say that. And Lindsay's like, you just piss me off. You can make your own food. But they both say that even though they fight, it's nice to have their sister around, that they have a really nice bond. And I have to say, drinking out of red Solo cups in your own house is insane. Like, you don't have glassware, a red cup in your own house. Like, maybe the microplastics. Not even microplastics, the macroplastics. So on to Joe and Slade. Joe comes down to cook for Slade. And this time actually cook, not make chocolate chip cookies out of a package. And Slade is being pouty and he's in a bad mood. And she asks him, she's like, you seem like you're in a bad mood. Like, what's going on? And he says, it's because you're not nice to me. What?
Why are you in such a bad mood? You're always in a bad mood when I try to do something for you.
It's because you're not nice to me.
I'm sorry if you feel like I've been short with you. I just feel like you're always so busy all the time now.
I know, you don't need me anymore.
And he says things don't feel the same. They don't feel like boyfriend and girlfriend. And he feels like she doesn't respect him. Okay. And she says, she's like, I moved to LA to take a job. Like, hello, we're still boyfriend and girlfriend. And he says,
but I feel like you don't respect me. And I feel like you don't appreciate the things I do.
And Joe does not want to fight. She's like, I came to cook you dinner. Like, I don't understand where this is coming from. And he's kind of just being a bit of a bitch. Like, he's being really pouty and really moody. And he feels like their relationship has definitely changed since she moved out and that she's changed. And again, I've said it once, I'll say it again. They're just not on the same page and they need to break up. Like, that's the gist of it. But Slade is being a bit of a bitch and he's starting to wonder if his relationship with Joe is even worth it anymore.
You just become a different person up there.
I'm just me, Slade. Love it or leave it.
Okay, well, I'm just being me. So if you don't like it, tough shit. I've been doing a lot of wondering, actually, if my relationship between Joe is worth it. The toll that it has on me emotionally, it's not a good deal for me.
And then he comes over and he like hugs her from behind and then starts crying, and then they both start crying, and he says, I just feel like I've lost you. And it's all very dramatic, and I can't take it seriously because I'm like, you guys should have broken up like months ago. You guys should have broken up last year when you did break up. And he's crying and he says,
I just feel like you don't want me as part of your life up in LA, and I just don't know how to turn my feelings off and, you know, throw away the best 3 years of my life, and I don't know what to do, and blah, 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 blah.
And it's just, again, it goes back to season 1 where it's like the cause of your conflict is that you guys are at 2 different places in your life. She does not want to settle down in the suburbs. You don't care to move to LA. You'll both be fine. Maybe I'm being a bit too callous. Maybe I'm not caring enough. I just don't like Slade. And I think everything they fight about is kind of stupid. Is that okay to say? Am I allowed to say that? I think it's kind of stupid. I feel like just break up. And I think part of why they're both upset is because I think they both realize, like, mama, it's over. I feel like even when they got back together and they were trying to make things work again, I feel like they both just knew, like, this is not gonna work.
I just feel like I've lost you. I just love you so much. You know? I just feel like you don't want me as part of your life in LA.
But anyways, speaking of women who are in relationships that are not working for them, I don't know why I said that because the scene isn't even about Jeana. I needed a segue and the scene is about Shane. But Jeana says that Shane's back injury has been kind of a wake-up call for not just him, but for the entire family, kind of what life could look like without just revolving around baseball. So Shane needs to go and get fitted for a suit. Because Matt's not around a lot, Jeana mentions that Shane actually has a lot of positive male influences in his life, and the guy he goes shopping for a suit with is Brent, the guy that Slade had that absolutely tankstagram meeting with in season 1. He goes with Shane to get his suit fitted, which is really nice. Even though Shane is kind of an asshole, I feel like it is good for him to have male figures in his life.
With Shane, he's playing baseball, but I worry that he won't have the skills to fall back on something, but that will be his choice, and I won't be saying I told you so.
But I don't really care to watch a bunch of men get fitted for suits. I'm sorry. Meanwhile, Vicki and Jeana go out for dinner together, and they kind of both talk about their husbands, and Jeana thinks they treat their husbands very similarly in the sense that they don't treat them very well and they don't pay that much attention to them. Jeana feels like she treats Matt like the mailman, which isn't really like a good vibe to have with your husband. And Vicki says that she feels she's very independent and like she doesn't need Don. But then she kind of has moments where she realizes, I kind of do. Like, he's my rock and our relationship is really important to me. But Vicki says, she's like, I still want to be courted by my husband. I want to go out on dates. I want to do this romantic stuff.
Women and men hit a certain plateau and they stop working on their relationships. And that's when the wives run off with the poolmen and the husbands run off with the secretaries.
But she says she doesn't really worry about Matt cheating on her because they share really similar morals and that neither of them would cheat. Because Vicki's like, I'd be more worried about you cheating on Matt. Which is honestly tea because Jeana needs a boyfriend. And Vicki says that strong moral compass is very much a Midwest thing because they're both from the Midwest. And she says her and Dawn have always said that if it gets to a point, like, just leave, don't cheat, just have enough respect to walk away instead of cheating on one another. And Jeana says that where she's from, people don't get divorced. Like, you get married and that's it. You stay together because you marry someone who you love and respect. But I fear that Matt and Jeana need to get a divorce. Sorry, I'll say it. They need to get divorced because this is not working. And compared to Matt and Jeana, Vicki and Dawn have only been married for 12 years. And Vicki comes to the realization that she's like, if I don't start investing time into my relationship with Dawn, it's going to fail like Matt and Jeana.
I mean, how long have we been married?
20 some years.
I'm 12.
I should still have that sparkle. And then I realized, if I don't give the time for my marriage, it will fail, just like Jeana and Matt's marriage.
That's true. Like, their marriage is not in a good place. I literally just said that they need to get a divorce. And I do think that's a thing that Vicki's sort of realizing this season is like, she needs to sort of diversify how she spends her time and not just think about work all the time. So Vicki and Dawn go for dinner and drinks. And I know I already said this, but Dawn really does have a really nice smile. Maybe it's just because I'm hungry right now, but those chips look so good. I'm not even that much of a foodie, but I feel like every time I'm watching a show and they're eating food, like my eyes go to the food and I'm like, what are you having? And I have to be like, oh, that looks good. Okay, hi. I know I look crazy right now, but 2 things I cannot believe. Number 1, I'm about to break my no free promo rule. And number 2, I can't believe I was talking about food in the context of Real Housewives and didn't bring up this cookbook that I own. Cook it, spill it, throw it. The unauthorized, unofficial Real Housewives cookbook, thank you. If you are in the market for a cookbook or you are a Housewives fan, you have a Housewives fan in your life, you need this. Because when you look at a recipe or like you get a cookbook and the recipes in there are either really fucking complicated or they're easy but they're not good. Like, they taste like they were easy to make. This is the answer to all your problems. And so Dawn asks Vicki, like, what are your plans for the weekend? And then he's like, psych, we're catching a boat in the morning. He has surprised her with a romantic weekend in Catalina. Ugh, I'm sorry, those chips in that margarita. Let me have one.
We are. Just you and me. Absolutely. My wife, God bless her, she's really, really busy lately, and she goes 100 miles an hour, and we seldom ever get a chance to get away. So I thought I would, maybe take her to Catalina for a night.
Thank you. Are you sure?
Yeah.
And Vicki is thrilled because normally she's the one who plans these types of things. She says Don's a great husband, but he's kind of a backseat husband. He doesn't really plan stuff ever. So it means a lot to her that he actually took the time to plan this so that they can spend time together and that she can relax. And she says that Don's never really done anything like this for her before. She feels like they're getting married all over again. She's realizing, especially after talking with Jeana, that one thing marriages need is time. And she feels like she doesn't give Don enough of that. And that's the one thing that she can improve on, is actually spending more time with him. And Dawn's really happy to have time where it's just them, no kids, no phones, no work, no dogs, no nothing, just Dawn and Vicki sharing time together.
I'm an empty nester now, and it's changed my relationship with Don. I recognize that he's the one that I have to go to every night to talk with versus Michael or Brianna. Wow, I can't believe you pulled this off without me knowing.
But Vicki's kind of gagged that he was able to pull this off without her knowing, because I feel like you can't get shit past her. And they talk a bit about how they could spend more time together without forcing it. She says how their relationship kind of works is that he lets her do her own thing, she lets him do his own thing, and then they kind of come together and find that happy medium. But she feels like this little trip to Catalina has really rekindled something between her and Dawn. And it's nice to feel like he still loves her and he still cares about her. It does look like a gorgeous little day. We need to go to Catalina. And while Vicki and Dawn are rekindling their spark, things have not been great between Joe and Slade. I did not need Albert Einstein to tell me that. Honey, I could have told you that. I am telling you that. I've been telling you that. Shit is not working between you two. But they're hoping they can get back on track, so they do go to see a relationship counselor, which is something that Kimberly had actually suggested in season 1, and both of them were kind of like, we're not even married. Do you think that's really necessary? Clearly it is. And so the relationship counselor wants to talk to both of them one-on-one to sort of get a feel for what the issues in their relationship might be. And I'm like, sweetheart, how much time do you have? But so she speaks with Slade first, and she asks him what he feels his commitment level to their relationship is. He says about 50%. And when asked about what he thinks Joe's commitment to the relationship is, he says he doesn't think she's committed at all anymore, and maybe he would put her at a 2 out of 10. It kind of bothers me that those aren't on the same scale. Like, you're 50%, she's 2 out of 10. I'm no math wizard, but that bothered me. And Slade says something that, I hate to say it, is very valid. He's like, I don't want a part-time girlfriend.
Truthfully, do you
Hers?
think? Yes.
I don't think she's committed to it at all anymore.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10?
2. I don't want a part-time girlfriend.
Right.
I'm not convinced that her being in Los Angeles and me being in Orange County is really going to work for me.
So then she asks Joe the same question, and to very little surprise, their answers are different. She says her commitment level is actually an 8 or 9 out of 10, which is very different than Slade's 2 out of 10 he put her at. She says she would give herself that number because she loves Slade, she thinks he's perfect, she loves their relationship. And she says that staying at home and trying to be this housewife, she lost a sense of what her goals were, what her ambitions were, and just ultimately who she is, and she wants that back. And she felt that she was molding into another person, someone who she's not. And the reason she was doing that was because she loved Slade, which is really difficult, and I feel like is not a sign of a good relationship, which really sucks. And we even saw that firsthand last season. Like, she was miserable sitting at home. And for as kind of annoying as she's being this season, it's nice to see her regain that sense of independence, because that would be hard on anybody to feel like you've lost touch with yourself and what you want out of life, especially at such a young age. And for a man at that, no, you need to get out of there.
And I just lost completely a sense of me.
So you have a sense of unfulfilled ambition.
Absolutely.
And achievement.
Completely.
Right.
I just found myself becoming and molding into this other person. Housewife in training, if you will.
To please
him because I loved him.
Right.
Right. And found myself really unhappy.
And so the therapist comes to the conclusion that they're having a life stage conflict, and that a lot of the friction is coming from the fact that they're at different points in their lives. Diva, I could have told you that. Like, no shit. And the relationship counselor keeps emphasizing, like, yeah, you guys are just, you're living in separate worlds and you want different things. And again, baby, I could have told you that. Here on youtube.com/garbagecandy, I can give you that advice for free. You just need to break up. And here goes Slade. He goes,
I think I love her too much that I have to let her go.
I can't. I'm sorry, the way Slade is sitting on this couch is kind of destroying me. Like the crossed legs, the bootcut jeans, and the flip-flops. Okay, stunt queen.
My gut tells me in this relationship that I love her so much that I have to let her go. That we can't be together physically in that type of relationship. Right. Which churns my stomach to say that.
Right. So why don't you tell her what you need to tell her?
It is. It's real.
And Joe's kind of looking at him like, what are you talking about? And she says, she's like, I mean, I kind of saw the end of our relationship coming, but I'm still kind of shocked. After 3 years, you're going to break up with me on a couch? And for some reason, it's so funny, like, that's what she's hung up on, is like, you broke up with me on a couch, as opposed to a chair, as opposed to standing up. Maybe it's just like, you broke up with me on a couch in front of this random lady. I think that's more what she means, but it's just funny that she keeps being like, you broke up with me on a couch?
But after 3 years, he broke up with me on a couch.
You need to be free to date other people, to work on your career, to not date if you choose. That's up to you.
And he's like petting her head. I'm happy this is where this ends, but like, girl, he says, he's like,
I refuse to sit at home wondering, where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, and I'm probably going to end up dating myself. I refuse to sit at home in a 6,000 square foot house by myself and blah, blah, blah.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this. And like, even just the way he's kissing her looks so awkward and stiff. Like the kiss on the forehead, the cradling on the neck, and kissing on the cheek. It's just too much in front of this random lady. I would assume this is a regular occurrence as like a relationship counselor, that like people break up right in front of you and you just have to sit there like, your time is up, can I have my payment please? But yeah, it's kind of awkward, but I can't help but celebrate, because hopefully this is the very end of Joe and Slade. Yay! So then we get our Real Housewives staple, the finale party, Vicki's backyard barbecue blowout where everyone's invited. We see Lauri and George. Lauri finally got her engagement ring. It is absolutely enormous. As expected, George loves to spoil her, but that shit is huge. For as much as I feel like I keep whacking her, good for her. There is some tension between Lauri and Ashley still, I guess, after their argument. And Ashley is kind of not moved by the gigantic engagement ring. And she says, she's like, I guess it's kind of just like, I'm shocked that my mom just keeps getting one thing after another from this man. Which is like, yeah, we saw the car, the Rolex, the engagement ring, the trips, and then some.
Did you hear about this?
Georgie, welcome.
No? I know. Nice, huh? Yeah, it's so big it makes me look skinny.
No, but it does. At Vicki's barbecue, there was a lot of tension between Ashley and I went to show her my ring, and she was less than excited about it.
And then Tammy shows up with a date, her new boo that she's been dating. It's still very fresh. Duff's not coming because he's trying to kind of find distance between the whole Kodo scene. Jeana's there with her whole family, including Matt, which is a shocker. I feel like this is the first we've seen him out of the house. Jeana says they're at a bit of a crossroads.
We're at crossroads in a relationship, and one of us has to bend one way or the other. But as you get older, I think you're less flexible to bend. I don't know. We have 4 houses. He can pick one.
So here's hoping they get divorced in season 3. And everybody's drinking these little martinis. Vicki says hers is super strong because she wants to get lit. Oh, I love Vicki. I need to be at this barbecue. Build me a time machine. I don't care about the butterfly effect. I don't care. I need to be here. And Vicki hits Brianna with my favorite line again.
Hi, Princess. Is it better than dorm food?
It's better than microwave dinners that I eat all the time.
Where's Michael?
Colorado.
When did you come home?
Hi, Princess. You can tell Vicki's already off the tease. And she cries thinking about Michael because she misses him and she feels proud of him. Vicki says she's working on her control issues and that people around her have started to notice the change. I'm gonna commend her for anything she does because I think she's queenie, but good for her and I commend her. Joe shows up all the way from LA and she gags on Lauri's ring. Lauri says she thinks Joe's a little jealous. Mama, she had a giant ring. And Vicki, being the queen she is, she encourages Joe to have fun and live her life because who cares about Slade? Honestly, I don't. But speak of the devil, and when I say devil, I mean devil. In walks Slade Smiley, and in true stunt queen fashion, he's brought a date. I'm dead because he knew he was messy for this.
Slade brought a date to the party, and it was just so weird because I didn't know they were there until I heard all the gasps. What? Oh! Okay, you've got to be kidding me right now.
It's actually the girl who he was flirting with at boys' night who was munching on his lamb chop or his ribs, whatever cut of meat that is. I don't know, I used to be vegan. That cut of meat is not my business. Slade goes, it was a little awkward seeing Joe there. Like, yeah, no shit. You knew she was gonna be there. Like, he's a messy bitch who lives for drama. And Vicki thinks it's terribly rude that Slade is causing a scene at her party, which it is. You tell him, Vicki. Joe thinks it's weird because she didn't bring a date out of respect for Slade because she knew he would be there. So why did he bring one? He's so messy. I actually can't, it's like, I can't stand him, but also, like, not to reference another franchise for those of you who don't watch, but, like, he really is Michael Darby in the sense of, like, I cannot stand him, but also, like, I kind of live to see what he does next. And Lauri says exactly what I've been saying, which is Slade thinks he's the next Real Housewife.
He thrives on drama. I mean, Slade thinks he's the next Real Housewife.
Don't you think it was brave of Janice to come into the wasp's nest?
It's not a wasp's nest. I think her feelings are just hurt that you replaced her so quickly.
Who?
Joe.
And everybody thinks not only is it extraordinarily tacky that Slade brought a date to this barbecue, but they also think his date looks tacky. They're saying she looks like she was pulled off Sunset Boulevard. They just say she looks tacky, she looks cheap, she looks like she was paid for, which, like, no disrespect if she was, but, like, to a backyard barbecue at someone's home, crazy. And to no surprise, Slade seems to be thriving off this drama. He's like, oh, we're the talk of the party. Like, yeah, because you're tacky and weird. But Joe and Lauri have a bit of a heart-to-heart over the situation because Joe's obviously upset. Like, this is very tacky and very rude and very disrespectful because they broke up 4 days ago. But Joe decides to go and be the bigger person, but she walks right up to Slade and Miss Janice and introduces herself. And then Joe leaves, and by leaves, I mean she goes and hangs out with Shane. What the hell, sure. And once again, I'm obsessed with Vicki's grotto. I would love to have this at my house. Like, I would spend all day in there. I would be recording in there. But Shane is comforting Joe, and honestly, I think Shane needs to use his evil sensibilities that are being communicated to him through his earrings to go up against Slade. Take one for the team. Whack him once real good.
He shows up at places where I go because our friends are all the same. And, like, I already told him, like, we can't.
By the way, no one breaks up and his friends. Just thought I'd.
Well, we tried to do it, and obviously we can't. Great, now I'm like the drama girl of the party.
You're always a drama girl.
Shut up, Shane.
But anyways, we get everyone's little exit moment. Shane has returned to baseball after his injury. He's playing for the Oakland A's minor team in Arizona. Work. And him and Joe are just friends. I feel like Joe does not need to date any more Koto DeKaza guys, especially not one who's 20 years old. Cara hopes to go to UCLA in the fall. Yes, God. And Jeana and Matt are miraculously still living together under the same roof. And Joe says she hopes to keep in touch with all the ladies. Spoiler alert, she will not be returning for season 3 because now she's no longer living in Orange County. She's moved out of the apartment with JJ and now lives on her own in LA. And she's still looking for that record deal. And Slade is now Joe's manager. What the hell, sure. I can't. I can't. But Slade plans to move to LA in his own apartment. At least they're both out of Koto and I don't have to see them in season 3. Thank you, God. But anyways, Lauri and George plan to wed in the spring. Ashley is still living at the townhouse, except now she pays the bills, she pays the rent, and she cleans up after those cats. And Josh did end up moving into the townhouse with Ashley, but he was kicked out 2 weeks later for violating the rules of the townhouse, which is unfortunate. But when they say kicked out, I'm like, where did he go? Like, surely you didn't just kick him out. I would hope not. On to Tammy. Her and Duff remain broken up. Thank God. I feel like they need to stop going in circles. She's still dating the new guy who she brought to Vicky's party. And Megan and Roman did not get back together, but she's still got that Iron Cross Kennels tattoo on her stomach. But anyways, Lindsay has moved out of Tammy's house and now lives with her father. And she plans to attend college, community college, in the fall. And then finally we have Vicki. She says, people want to keep up with the Joneses, but frankly, we are the Joneses. I am the Joneses. Which I'm pretty sure ends up becoming a Nene Leakes tagline, where she says, I don't keep up with the Joneses. I am the Joneses. But Vicki is still trying to control her control issues. She promises to never surprise Michael at college ever again. And Michael did not get his GPA up, and Vicki did not buy him a car. I could have seen that one coming from a mile away. Brianna and Colby are still together and still saving themselves for marriage. The finale ends with Jeana's line that ended season 1.
There's a huge mystique when you live behind the gates, but once they open up, we're no different than anyone else.
Which again, I wouldn't say no different, but they really are just women who live normal lives and have similar problems to the ones that we have, maybe just with a bit more money. That concludes season 2. I thought this was a pretty good season. Like I said, we are kind of seeing the show take shape a bit more. There was definitely a lot more drama and a lot more interaction between the women this season than we saw in season 1, which is amazing. I quite like Tammy, the new addition. Do I think she's a top tier housewife? No, but I like her. But honestly, I just have to say it. Season 3, we are getting
I'm the hottest housewife.
life-changing addition to the cast. We are getting an addition to the cast that will, I would say, change the trajectory of the entire Housewives dynasty, if you will, forever. And I'm so unbelievably excited. But it is interesting because initially the show, they just wanted to call it Real Housewives, The Real Housewives. And the idea was floated around to have it be The Real Housewives of Orange County for 2 reasons. Number 1, it would draw attention by playing off the titles of 2 already very loved and iconic shows, Desperate Housewives and The OC. So it would bring in attention that way. And number 2, calling it The Real Housewives of Orange County would offer the opportunity to potentially explore other cities, such as The Real Housewives of New York, The Real Housewives of Atlanta, The Real Housewives of New Jersey. And Andy Cohen initially opposed the idea because he thought it was too clunky and why would we ever, expand this? And then after season 1 aired, they were like, wait, I think we have a hit on our hands. And obviously, yes, they did. And thus the show became known as The Real Housewives of Orange County, which is a bit of a mouthful, I won't lie. But after season 2 of Real Housewives of Orange County, they began production on 2 more shows. One was a little show that was formerly known as Manhattan Moms, which thus became The Real Housewives of New York City, premiering in 2008. And also premiering in 2008 was The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Both of which, honestly, 2008 was a huge year for me because both of those are probably my 2 favorite franchises of all time. Some of my favorite housewives. I realized that in season 1, I asked everybody who their favorite housewives were, and I didn't even say mine. Even though I asked everybody who their favorite housewife was in season 1. Whenever I get asked that question, I freeze. I'm like, no, it's not that simple. Like, it depends on my mood. It's like asking me to pick a favorite child. But I would say some of my goats would be Countess Luann, Miss Luann de Lesseps, Kenya Moore, Nene Leakes. I know that's a cliche answer. Like, that should be everybody's answer, but Nene Leakes. Vicki, obviously. And Tamra. I'm sorry, I love Tamra, who we will meet next season. LVP. Like, there's so many legends who I all love for different reasons. But this is really where we see the show start to take shape. And you will see another very exciting landmark moment in the next episode, which is the reunion. So let's get into that. I'm probably not going to spend too much time getting into the reunion. As a little life hack, my queen Deeply Superficial says in her video where to start Real Housewives, if you're ever looking to start like in the middle, watching the previous season's reunion can always be a good way to get caught up, which is why I'm not going to recap it that much because I already just recapped the entire season. But we'll be talking about it, we'll be discussing it. And this reunion is different than last season's because last season's was lawn chairs in Vicky's backyard watching the show on a like substitute teacher rollout TV. But it's not quite where the reunions are today. It's more of a watch what happens special where they sit down with the women, which means it is the first on-camera appearance of Andy Cohen on Real Housewives. That is the monumental shift that happens here.
Hey everybody, welcome to a Watch What Happens special, the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. I'm Andy Cohen. Let's meet the housewives.
And Andy looks so young and sprightly here. It actually is like kind of insane. Like I was just watching the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion at the gym today and seeing Andy there versus here. My God, this fresh-faced young man. And right out the gate, we notice Joe is a blonde. She's got some highlights going on. I don't really like it. I think in Not All Diamonds and Rose, she literally said, she was like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Team Brunette is losing soldiers over here. And Andy's just generally asking the women questions like who their style icons are. Jeana says her daughter dresses her. Lauri says her style icon is Nicole Kidman, which I think is kind of fierce. And Andy asks them about their plastic surgery. Turns out all of them have breast implants. Jeana was actually right that Kimberly's guess of 85% of the women in Koto having breast implants was actually a low ball because 100% of the women on the stage have them. Andy asks what names they get called online. And we have a little brush with some slight transphobia. Lauri kind of says that she's been transvestigated online, but those are not the words she uses. Those are my words. I'm not going to say the words they use. But anyway, Andy asks if any of them regret their plastic surgery, and Joe actually says that she regrets her breast implants, her breast augmentation, her fake boobs. Joe says she's actually having a breast reduction done, and Vicki says that she's already had a breast reduction, which is crazy because I feel like I noticed that her boobs are really big. So it's crazy that that's already the product of a breast implant reduction. Good on her, though, because I think she looks great.
I think a lot of people get them because they're maybe insecure, they're feeling not sexy, or they've had their children and they got saggy baggy elephants happening and they don't want them anymore.
Andy asks the very brave question of who everybody voted for in the presidential election. I feel like they just don't ask questions like that anymore. I wonder why. Let's not talk about that. Unanimously, they voted Republican, which should not shock anybody. If you're gagging at that, I don't know what to tell you. They're like, yeah, basically everybody in Orange County is a Republican. I'm not going to comment on that further because I'm not American, and I feel like it's not my place to comment on the voting demographics of a lot of places in the States. Anyways, moving on. I'll comment on it when we get Real Housewives of, I don't know, Calgary. Andy asks Joe about her relationship with Slade. Honestly, Andy's like, the reunions are so funny when Andy gets involved because I feel like some of the shit that he reads, like some of the viewer comments are like, Joe, Heather from Toronto says that blonde hair looks horrible on you. Why do you keep it? And she'll just like laugh. That's not what the question was. That was me creating an example because that blonde hair does kind of look a little horrible on her. I'm not going to lie. For someone as gorgeous as her, this hair is not working. The viewer is like, why does Slade put up with Joe? Which, that's a crazy takeaway. Maybe it's a sign of the times. Maybe they were just picking viewer comments from people who were actually insane and watching a Twilight Zone version of the show. To which Joe says, baby, change the channel. And they all say that Slade calls himself the 6th housewife. We can tell. No, we can tell.
Oh, what can I say? I don't mean to be disrespectful, you know what I mean? It's just sometimes I am. Because I'm mad. Because I'm human and I have feelings that, you know.
Is Slade a chump?
He's not a chump, but he has called himself the 6th housewife.
Joe says that she's currently single, and Andy gets a little messy with it, and he says there's a tall, dark, handsome guy that's getting a lot of buzz on BravoTV.com. His name is Shane Keough. Asking Joe that, number one, is messy. Asking Joe that in front of Shane's mom, crazy. But it needed to be said. Joe says there's nothing going on between her and Shane. There never has been. He's hot, but no. Andy asks Jeana, how would you feel about having Joe as a daughter-in-law? And Jeana is so messy. She's like, Joe needs a guy who's going to treat her badly. First of all, what does that mean? Second of all, then wouldn't Shane be perfect for her? If that's the condition, wouldn't Shane be a shoo-in for the role? Andy asks Vicki about her control issues, and he said that a lot of people noticed that she was putting in effort to get a little bit of a handle on them. And she says, I'm not controlling, I just like to be in control. This diva.
And I try to get the people around me to see that what I'm passing over for them to do is to release some of the control that I have. So, okay. Did you understand that?
No.
Okay, I see myself like that, and sometimes I get like, oh, but I really hope that the people that are in my life that love me know that I want the best.
Which doesn't really answer the question, but I don't give a shit. I stan her. And then Andy asks Lauri, when are her and George getting married? And she says, it's coming soon. September, spring, summer. Joggers. But then they ask Vicki, does she really feel jealous of Lauri's relationship with George? And Vicki says something very honest where she's like, I think anybody is jealous. If you woke up one day and didn't have to worry about money anymore, who wouldn't be jealous? She says she's happy for Lauri and George, but she can't help but feel a little jealous that Lauri doesn't really have to worry about work or money or any of that anymore just because of this man who fell into her lap. And Lauri feels that the reception of her online, it was easy to root for her in season 1 because she was kind of an underdog. But now she says when you're at the top of your game, people just want to knock you down. Which I think there is some truth to that. But also, like, I do think she was acting a little Hollywood this season. But that's just my opinion. And I still like her. I'm not trying to knock her down. I'm here to make observations and commentary. So, of course, I'm going to make observations and commentary on Miss Lauri. And a viewer writes in a question about how Jeana just sort of like stood by when Shane was calling Tammy tits and how disrespectful it was. And Jeana tries to blame it on the alcohol. She tries to blame it on Shane drinking. And she's like, I need to not have alcohol in my house because he had to have been drinking. He would never say that to an adult. And it's like, your son's kind of an asshole. He wakes up at 9 a.m. and is an asshole right out of the gate. So I feel like a lot of these parents don't want to take responsibility for how bratty their kids are. They like to act like the problem just came out of nowhere. Baby nurture versus nature. I feel like the keough kids aren't really disciplined a lot, but I'm not a parenting expert. And Tammy kind of points out that, like, as a woman, like, even though she's offended, she just kind of has to, like, laugh and smile and be respectful. Whereas, like, if it was a guy saying it to another guy, he would have gone over and kicked his ass. Exactly, Miss Tammy. But Tammy actually says that being on the show helped her parenting a little bit because she could see almost from an outsider's perspective, and she's trying to learn to be less passive with her kids and actually kind of take on a more active discipline role, which again seems to be a trend among pretty much all the parents except for Vicki. And she says even that she feels like her kids learned a lot because they would see themselves from this sort of outsider's perspective and they were like, wow, I can't believe I was that rude to you, like, I'm so sorry. And Tammy says that she was a bit shocked when she saw on TV that Lindsay had thrown that party. She was a bit shocked and disappointed because she was like, Lindsay saw everything I went through with her sister, all the parties, the police, all of that like I thought she had a bit more respect for me. She says Lindsay's actually living with her father now. She's living with Lou because she doesn't like Tammy's rules, and she's 18 so she can kind of fly the coop if she wants, I guess, which Tammy says is hard because she's like, obviously I'd rather her be living with me because I'm actually around, whereas her father's out of the country a lot, he's at work a lot, he's out of town a lot, that she doesn't really have a stable person around to actually like discipline her when she needs it. And Lauri said that watching the season as well as reading comments from the last season has made her realize that she needs to parent her kids a bit more and not be their friend as much. And Andy thinks it's interesting that like reading viewer comments has affected the way she parents her kids, and she's talking about the blogs and all of that, and that she, you know, feels like she was too friendly with her kids and that ultimately her kids need structure.
I love my kids so much that I want to be more of a friend than that really stern parent, but I've learned that, you know, kids need structure. And, you know, watching that clip between Ashley and I love her to death. I mean, we are truly, truly good friends, but she still needs me as a parent.
Since filming, Josh has turned 18, so he has a clean criminal record. It's interesting. She says she hasn't really heard from him, and when he turned 18 and he had that fresh start, she did let him live in the townhouse and all of that, and they had rules. It was like no drinking, no drugs, no sleepovers, you know, no more than one guest at a time. And she said that her and George walked in the townhouse at like midnight one night and all 4 of the rules were being broken, so they had to discipline him. And Lauri says she's in contact with Josh a little bit, but not much. And she says she's worried because there's outside pressures. Sorry, I'm doing air quotes. There's outside pressures coming in, and affecting his life. And I don't know, it's like, again, I understand her need for boundaries, and I'm not here to tell her how to parent her kid like 10 years ago, but it is just sort of like she sits here and talks about how kids need structure in order to succeed and they need discipline. But I feel like losing contact with your son who's consistently having issues can't really be good and can't really be setting him up for success. Even if he did break the rules, I feel like there was probably a better solution, but I'm not a parenting expert. Once again, I'm just giving my opinion. Andy asks Vicki about one of the most honest and raw parenting moments we've seen on the show, which was when Vicki went and surprised Michael. And Vicki says that she was genuinely really hurt at his response, and it was really hard for her to see that, you know, her son is growing up in real time, and to feel like he doesn't need her anymore. That really hurt her feelings. She was hoping they could have a nice day and go to the game together. Again, it's like they might have been able to had she given him some warning. That's my opinion. But I'm on her side because I think Michael was crazy to her, and I don't think anybody should talk to Vicki that way. I don't care if they're related to her. If anything, that means you should not talk to her that way even more. Leave my queen alone.
I want to know that my kids are happy when they're with me. And I saw that moment where he wasn't happy that I was there. And I saw a time that, you know, he's becoming a man. He doesn't really want me around anymore. So it was hard.
And then they do a segment that they never do anymore, thank God. They've sent the women off the stage and it's just the kids. I'm going to cover it anyway, but they do not do this shit anymore. Even now, like when they bring the husbands out, they sit behind the women on the couch where they belong. So to have a whole segment dedicated to these kids, let's see. Cara got a new haircut and she looks so much like Jeana with this hair. It's actually like astonishing to me. And first things first, I gotta say, there are too many blue eyes on this stage. It's freaking me out. Literally, I'm shaking, I'm crying. Somebody get them some damn contacts. So Ashley says that she is working at a job. She's working with the OC Energy Aqua Air Angels or whatever. She's like, I'm working with this energy drink company. And Andy's like, you mean the OC Aqua Air Angels? And apparently Cara and Brianna left the OC Aqua Air Angels. And Cara and Brianna both say like, it was just kind of going in a direction that it's not really my thing. Cara's like, I don't really want to be, laying all up on a rug. It's just not really the thing for me. And Brianna says something where I see Vicki in this moment where she's like, it's just not where my life is headed. It's just not aligned with my path. Those are my words, not hers.
Like, I'm in nursing school, and I don't think it's appropriate just for me to just be like doing photo shoots all the time, because that's not where my life is going. So it's just...
It's not exotic dancing, is it?
No, I know. I'm like, you guys are making it sound like I'm laying naked on rugs, but that's not...
Brianna says that she's like, the show accurately represents my relationship with my mom. We're really close, but we do have our tiffs. She pisses me off. She's very controlling. There's a lot of women who I'm like, as much as I love them, I would hate to be around them. I would love to be around Vicki. I would hate to have her as my mom. I'm sorry. Brianna says that even as a sophomore in college, she has to be home by 11. Like, Vicki still can control her that much. Please accept my sincerest apology if you actually cared about what the kids were saying. That's literally all I recorded because it was filler boots. So we're just gonna get back to what actually matters, aka the ladies. Back to the ladies. Andy brings up Jeana's marriage and he asks how are things going between her and Matt. And Jeana says that they're going through some struggles right now and that they often disagree about parenting. Matt doesn't agree with the way Jeana parents their kids. Matt feels like Jeana hands the kids too many things as opposed to making them work for it. So they've been disagreeing about that basically since she bought Shane his first car. And a viewer writes in a question where they're like, unless you still love your husband, why don't you kick him to the curb, girl? And Jeana tries to pull the whole like, oh, you're only seeing part of it. You're not seeing the full story. Na. And like, from what I do see, that's enough. I've seen enough. And Vicki chimes in and she says that she just wants Jeana to be happy and she wants Jeana to have a man who respects her, and she doesn't really think that Matt does. And Vicki says that's really hard for her to see as Jeana's friend.
Well, it makes me realize that we don't have a lot in common at this point in our life, and we're either going to have to make some changes and work on some things, or we should get a divorce, because it's just, we each have our own life. So.
Thank you.
You all know what team I'm on. Girl, get a divorce. And then we see Tammy. She talks a bit more about her relationship with Duff and why she's ready to move on. Finally, she says that she's still with the guy who she brought to Vicki's backyard barbecue. And they're taking things slow. She's trying to kind of figure it out, but things are going well for her. And Andy asks Jo about her music career. She said that she's taking it slow. She's got a music publishing deal with Sony, whatever that means, and they're looking at a couple labels to get a record deal or whatever. And she says if there's one person whose career she wants to emulate, it is Jessica Simpson. Okay. She could never do Irresistible, I'm sorry. Or Public Affair.
One more question. Any advice for the housewives across America who watch you all every week?
I think that the strength that we have, a lot of people admire us for it. We're all empowered to make these choices and do something with our life and not look for somebody to make that.
Yeah, and it would have been nice to have when I was growing up to have somebody like us that I can say, I'll be okay.
I hope that you enjoyed this discussion of Real Housewives of Orange County Season 2. Once again, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed discussing Real Housewives of Orange County Season 2 with me. I am so grateful if you watched my videos. If you enjoyed them, please consider leaving a like or a comment. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider changing that. I'm literally so excited to get into Season 3. You have no idea. And I promise you, I will not disappear and I will get into Season 3 much faster than I got into Season 2. But I hope the wait was worth it, and I hope that you enjoyed Real Housewives of Orange County Season 2. I will see you in the next one. Bye!